Okay, welcome to the video for 9.6. We are solving quadratics by factoring and the zero product properties. So we did half of the problems in class, and the other half I'm putting in this video. So if I move too fast for you, I suggest that you make a lot of pauses in the video, follow along the best way that you can, but I am going to kind of move at a little bit of a quicker pace for a couple of reasons. The first being that, well, we already learned it in class yesterday. The second being that, well, we've been factoring for a couple of months now, to be honest. And factoring is not going away, and it is something that you should feel like you pretty much have down pat by now. So the hardest part of this is the factoring, which you already should know how to do. And after that, it's just a matter of setting each of your factors equal to 0. Okay, just like what we talked about. And then you'll just solve it like a regular old equation. So jumping right into this, number 3, we have a trinomial with a leading coefficient of 1. So if you would like to use the diamond method, by all means, but we really don't need it. I need some multiples of 21 that are going to add to 10. 7 and 3, so x plus 7, x plus 3. And that is still equal to 0. Put that at the end. So these are both now what we call factors. So just like the directions say, you're going to set each of the factors equal to 0 individually, each one on its own, and solve them separately, and you'll get 2 answers. So we have an x plus 7 equals 0. And an x plus 3 equals 0. Solving both for the top one, subtract 7. 0 minus 7, negative 7. For the bottom one, subtract 3. 0 minus 3. Okay, so our 2 answers are x equals negative 7 and x equals negative 3. Moving on. Number 4. All right, we have a leading coefficient that is not 1. This time it is 6. So first and foremost, always look to see if you can factor out a GCF. In this problem, doesn't look like I can. 5 is prime, nothing will go into there. 6, 25, yeah, there's no common factor. So we're going to have to use the diamond method for this guy and then factor by grouping. So diamond method, we multiply the first and last terms. So we have 6 times negative 25, negative 150 goes in the top. That 5x down to the bottom, just the 5, by the way. So I need some multiples of 150 that'll add up to 5. Right off the bat, the very first thing I think about is, well, 150 ends in a 0, so it's divisible by 10. And that gives me 10 and 15. So I can make a 5 with that. I need negative, but a positive sum. So that means negative 10 plus 15 gives me that positive 5. All right. So factor by grouping. These are the 2 numbers that we are going to use to separate that middle term. So we have 6x squared minus 10x plus 15x minus 25 equals 0. Group the first 2, the last 2. 6 and 10, we can factor out a 2 and an x. 3x minus 5. In the second group, I can factor out a 5. 3x minus 5. And that is equal to 0. So my first factor is going to be, remember we put the loners together, so the 2x plus 5 equals 0. And then these 2 that match, we're going to put them together. 3x minus 5 equals 0. Solve them separately. For the first one, I will subtract 5. That's 2x equals negative 5. Divide by 2. X is negative 5 halves. And the other one, add 5. 3x equals 5. Divide by 3. X equals positive 5/3. These are our 2 answers. Here. Whoops. Here. All right. On to the next one. Number 6. Again, leading coefficient is 1, so I don't need the diamond method. I need some multiples of 14 that add up to negative 9. 2 and 7, both of them negative. Well, negative 2 times negative 7 gives me that positive 14. Negative 2 minus 7 gives me that negative 9. So those are the numbers I'm going to use. Set it equal to 0 and solve them separately. X minus 7 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. Add the 7. X equals 7. Add the 2. X equals 2. 2 answers. All right, flipping over. Okay, so the ones on the next page, you're going to notice something. The ones on the first page were all set equal to 0. This time they are set equal to y. They look like functions, okay? So don't let something like that trip you up. We talked about this in class. Basically, you're going to use that zero product property, and all you're doing is removing the y and in its place putting a 0, okay? What the zero product property states is that the two factors will be set equal to 0 so that you can solve, all right? So don't let that confuse you. So really what we have here is x squared minus 6x plus 5 equals 0, okay? All right, let's factor. I need some multiples of 5 that get me to negative 6, negative 5, negative 1. So x minus 5, x minus 1, and that is equal to 0. Solve them separately. 5x equals 0, 5x, x minus 5 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. Add 5, x is 5 for the first answer. Add 1, x is 1 for the second answer. Okay, number 9, leading coefficient is 5, not a 1. So first of all, you want to look for a GCF. I have a 5, a 27, and a 10. Whoops, 27. And I do not have a common factor that can come out of those three numbers. So I'm going to use my diamond. Let me separate these two problems so they don't run into each other. All right, 5 times 10 gives me 50 at the top of my x, and I need them to add up to 27. So multiples of 50 that add up to 27, well, if I take half of 50, I get 25. 25 and 2. Okay, so I'm going to use those two numbers to split up that middle term. We have 5x squared plus 25x minus 2, oops, not minus, plus, that's positive 2x, plus 10, and that equals 0. So group the first two, group the last two. 5x can be factored out of those two terms. We have x plus 5. In the second factor, I can take out a 2, and we have x plus 5, still equal to 0, always equal to 0. 5x plus 2 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0. This second one over here is easy to solve. Just subtract your 5, subtract your 5. X equals negative 5 as one of our answers. But over here, I'm going to have to have a fraction. Oh, no. Okay. So subtract 2. Uh-oh, I'm going to run out of room. 5x equals negative 2. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. X equals negative 2 fifths as my other answer. Okay. Phew. All right. Moving right along here. Number 10. Leading coefficient is 6, not 1. So always look for a GCF first. I see 3 even numbers, so I can definitely divide them all by 2. Anything bigger? 6 won't go into 10. 3 won't go, no. So it's got to be 2. So factor out a 2, and we are left with 3x squared plus 14x minus 5. All right, so we have this 2 on the outside. We're going to, remember what I told you guys, kind of cover it up for a second. Forget about it, just for a couple of minutes, though. Don't completely forget about it. It has to be included in your answer. And we are going to use our diamond method to factor the rest of this trinomial. So first and last number multiply together. 3 negative 5 is negative 15. and it needs to add up to 14. Well, 15 and 1, and I need to make the 1 the negative because 15 minus 1 gives me positive 14. Okay, so check your negatives. All right, so we have a 3x squared plus 15x minus x minus 5. Sorry, brain fart. Group. We have a 3 and a 15. I can factor out 3, and they both have x. So take out 3x, and I have x plus 5. In my second factor here, I can almost have x plus 5 if I take the negative away from both of these terms. So let's factor out a negative 1, and we get x plus 5 equals 0. So 3x minus 1 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0, both of them separately. Solve the first one, add 1. 3x equals 1. Divide by that 3. X is equal to 1/3. I'm going to write it over here on the left side because I'm running out of space. Over here, subtract 5, subtract 5. X is also equal to negative 5. Okay. Moving on down, we are getting there. How long is the video so far? Okay, 12 minutes, not that bad. Number 13, x squared plus 5x plus 4. Oh, hey, wait a second, I just realized something. Let's go back up. Remember what I told you to not forget about? I just forgot about it. So you also have a 2 equals 0, because that is a factor, but that's not true anyway, so no worries. Doesn't even need to be part of your answer. Okay, number 13. Let's see. We need multiples of 4 that are going to add up to 5. 4 and 1, of course. Both positive. And this is equal to 0. 0 product property. Hey, f of x, remember we talked about in class how that's just kind of a different way to say y equals? It's a function notation. So, like I said before, don't get confused. You're just going to take your equation and set it equal to 0. That's 0 product property. All right, so x plus 4 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. When you have problems like this, it's usually easy to see that it's going to be the negative value of whatever number is there. You have to subtract 1, subtract 4. Kind of easy. All right, number 15. Leading coefficient is 2. I have a 2, a 5, and a 25. No common factor, so I just need to jump right into diamond method. So, diamond. 5, I'm sorry, that's not a 5, that's a 2. 2 times negative 25 is negative 50. I get ahead of my brain works a little bit faster than my mouth. And we need it to add up to negative 5. So some multiples of negative 50 that add up to negative 5. How about 10 and 5? If I do negative 10 plus 5, I can get negative 5. So perfect. All right. 2x squared minus 10x plus 5x minus 25 equals 0. Remember, it just splits up that middle term. Group. 2 and 10, factor out a 2 and an x. We're left with x minus 5. Over here, 5 and 25, you can factor out a 5. X minus 5 equals 0. So our two factors are 2x plus 5, and that's equal to 0. The other factors here that match, x minus 5, and that's also equal to 0. So solve, subtract 5. 2x equals negative 5, divide that by 2. X equals negative 5 halves. And, or x plus 5. X is equal to 5. Put that answer over here. So they're together. All right. 3 more. We're almost there. I know this video is so long. Hopefully you won't need the whole thing. Number 17, we have 10x squared minus 5x minus 5. Looking at that, I know that all 3 of those terms are divisible by 5. So I'm going to factor it out. 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. So forget about the 5 just for a second here. Let's do the diamond. 2 and -1 gives me a -2, and I need it to add up to -1. Well, the only factors of 2 are 2 and 1. The only problem is we have to figure out which one's negative and which one's positive. If I need them to add up to -1, -2 plus 1 is -1. So 2x squared minus 2x plus 1x minus 1 equals 0. Group. In my first factor, I can take out the 2's and an x. We're left with x minus 1. In this one, I already have x minus 1, so I'm just going to factor out a 1 so I have something to go with this 2x. So 2x plus 1, that's equal to 0. And then x minus 1, these two here that match, that's also equal to 0. So here x is equal to 1. Over here x is equal to -1/2. Okay. You got to get to the point where you can start doing this stuff in your head. I mean, you have to. No, I guess not. You can show your work. But the idea, guys, is that after doing these so many times, you should be able to start seeing how your answer is going to look. Subtract 1 gives me a -1 over here. That's where this -1 comes from. And then I have to end up eventually dividing by 2. So that's why it's -1 over 2. Okay. All right, 20 and 21, a little bit different. Now, this does not say y equals. It does not say f of x equals. It does not say 0 equals. This is the equation, and it's equal to -4. We're not used to that. And in fact, that's not what we want. We want it to be equal to 0 or equal to y or equal to something, all right? But it's -4. Well, I could make it be equal to 0. If you have a -4 and you want it to be 0, what do you need to do? Add 4. Okay? If I'm -$4 and I want to break even, I need somebody to give me $4. All right, think about it that way. So plus 4 on both sides of this equation. And now I have 5x squared minus 4x. 0. I'm just going to write it, though. Plus 0. I know it's not there, but I'm just going to write it. Equals 0. All right, so let's see. I'm going to rewrite this so that we have the 5x squared minus 4x without the 0, because I want to show you what happens here. Okay. Now, look for a GCF first. This time we do have a GCF. Both of these terms have at least one x. So I'm going to factor out an x. And now I have 5x minus 4. All right, here are my two factors, x and 5x minus 4. Those are two factors. We're going to take each one of these and set it equal to 0 separately. So the first one, x equals 0, that's already solved for us. Done. The other one, 5x minus 4 equals 0, we got to solve it. So add 4. 5x equals 4. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. X equals 4. Whoopsie, sorry. Okay, so that was a long one. It took me a lot of space. 21. Again, we would like equal to 0. Let's make it happen, Captain. Okay, so 2x squared minus 9x, negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. Ugh, can't speak anymore. Okay, diamond. 2 and negative 5 gives me negative 10. Need them to add up to negative 9, so it's got to be 10 and 1. Just which one's got to be negative? The 10. Okay. All right, so 2x squared minus 10x plus 1x minus 5 equals 0. Group. 2x squared, 10x. I can take a 2 and an x. I have x minus 5. Over here, already have x minus 5, so let's just factor out a 1. So we have something to go with our friend 2x. So now it's 2x with the 1. They're equal to 0. X minus 5, that's equal to 0. So subtract that 1. So it's negative 1. 2x equals negative 1. And divide by 2. X equals negative 1/2. Over here at 5. X equals 5 and negative 1/2. All right, that is it. I went over 20 minutes. My goal was to try to stay under 20 minutes. So I am sorry for the lengthiness of this video, but I wanted to get all 11. I think I did 11 problems just now with you. That was a pretty good time. I wanted to get all 11 problems in one video, so maybe you didn't need it for all of them. Maybe you did. I don't know. Everybody's different. So the rest of these are blank on my paper, but they shouldn't be on yours because we did them in class. All right, so make sure you have these done because I will be collecting notes when you guys have your quiz next, not your quiz, your test next Thursday before Easter break. And yeah, I mean, as long as you're good with factoring, you should be good with this. So I will see you guys in class. Have a great night.